de você, moça flor.
The artist's garden at Ergany by Camille Pissarro, 1898, oil on canvas, is located at the National Art Gallery in Washington, D.C. Pissarro was born in Charlotte Amalie St. Thomas, now part of the U.S. Virgin Islands, in 1830. He began a series of new and interesting paintings of French rural and urban life that eventually earned him the title Father of Impressionism. He was a fatherly figure who acted as a mentor to such well-regarded painters such as Paul Cézanne, Paul Gauguin, and Edgar Degas. Pissarro later died in 1903. Pissarro's artwork at first glance, the stylistic technique and approach appeared to be that of a bureau of brushstrokes, as it seems loose and messy. However, each dab and smear of the pen is expertly thought out, which emphasizes the impression of an object. Pissarro's sympathy towards farm workers and the working class are the sources in which he drew inspiration from, as well as that of the 19th century artist Jean-Francois Millet, another artist who shared a sympathy towards the working class. Claudia Wilson from the Thyssen-Bornemisza Museum states, in his paintings, The Artist's Garden of 1898, we see that Pissarro's garden, which is tended to his wife Julie with the occasional help of the gardener, was that of the traditional country type with less emphasis on the flowers than on useful fruit and vegetables arranged in rows for easy care. The barren nature of the employee in Pissarro's plot, cultivated to yield produce all year round from winter cabbages to autumn fruit, makes a record of the changing effects of light, atmosphere, and weather as dynamic as Monet's Giverny in the summer. Pissarro wrote that, in the midst of the joy of my work, I forget about myself and even forget all the sadness, bitterness, and suffering. Catherine Rothkopf, one of the authors of Pissarro Creating the Impressionist Landscape, depicts Pissarro's piece of working gardens as increasingly images of a better world in which color and decoration were closely interwoven with emotion. Pissarro gives a realistic perspective of the view from his garden in Ergany, as the focal point isn't on the flowers in the background, which is a part of the stereotypical garden scene, but on the women planting rows of produce to harvest later in the year. Pissarro looked to nature and moved from the impressionist trends of the focal point being that of the upper middle class to those from the backgrounds of peasantry, in which he combined the impressionist ideals with the freshness of nature and freely moving atmosphere. The painting depicts the peacefulness and domesticity of life in the countryside outside the bustling city of Paris. The rich saturated colors and side dialogue between man and nature, the serenity of this nature scene complements the muted earthy tones of the woman's clothes, pastel blue sky, and the almost wispy colored petals of flowers in the background. Since the painting was created approximately in 1898 and Van Gogh stayed with Pissarro and his wife in Ergany for a short period of time, the sunflowers in the back may reference Van Gogh's work of the sunflowers created in the 1880s. Pissarro's reputation as the father of Impressionism can be seen in his approach to the garden at Ergany, which simulates the light and airy feel of the countryside, which also embodies the avant-garde Impressionism movement that is loved by many today.
The Eiffel Tower, a wrought iron lattice tower, is the focal point of its home in Paris, France. It is no surprise that it is made from iron, as Gustave Eiffel, the lead engineer on the tower, was known as an expert on iron. Wrought iron, as opposed to cast iron, is special because of its high tensile strength, which is good for building. And a lattice is a crisscross arrangement in a structure. Its original purpose was to serve as the centerpiece of the 1888 World's Fair in Barcelona, Spain. But the Spanish turned down the tower because it was too expensive and too strange for their liking. The French, on the other hand, accepted it, and it became the centerpiece of their own World's Fair in 1889. It was assembled between 1887 and 1889 with only one fatality, which is impressive for the technology and safety measures of that time period. For context, 11 people died 48 years later during the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge in the San Francisco Bay. I say it was assembled because it's made of 18,000 pre-made pieces. It is held together by a staggering 2.5 million rivets. At completion, the structure stood 300 meters or 984 feet tall, and weighed 7,300 tons. While we in the modern day see the tower as a spectacle, in The Symbol of Paris, William Thomson remarks that many late 19th century Parisians saw it as an eyesore. The tower had a 20-year contract, meaning that after 20 years, it could be torn down. Fortunately, it grew on the French people. The combination of its usefulness as a telecommunications tower and its notoriety, which now, according to the French newspaper Le Monde, makes it the most visited paid monument in the world, prevented that from happening. Undoubtedly, there was someone in Spain who regretted ever turning it down.
Te lembrei de você.